What's up? Welcome to More Than Mortgage. I'm Chad Anderson. That guy is Zach Jones. Yes, I'm wearing a Christmas t-shirt. We have a new backdrop. Like everything is, it's a little disoriented over here, Zach. That's all I can leave it as. Okay. If you've ever moved, then you've walked through the depths of hell. And here we are. This is the other side of it once you get done. So welcome in, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad I'm not moving. We're just kind of coming off a holiday weekend, and I
Yeah.
have been doing some cleaning the garage out and putting a few things on
That a
Facebook
boy.
Marketplace and kind of trim things down
That
a
a
little bit.
boy.
So
Yeah.
I'm not really quite at the moving empathy stage, but yeah, I get it. It's still fresh on
Hey,
my mind. Your stories of late have brought back my last moving trauma. So
look, if anybody's wanting to buy, one man's trash is another man's treasure, I'm going to have a lot of trash that could be considered treasure very, very soon. I've literally got stuff right over here, just off to the side of the camera. We got stuff still in the garage. Um, I don't know where anything is just about. We've done a
yeah.
decent job, but you can tell again, we're going. The gang is all here
Yeah,
for
you
Christmas today.
grab a box and get dressed, boys. It's time to go to school.
Zach, I brushed my teeth with half a toothbrush the other day. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it was better than the old toothpaste on the finger as a kid. You
Right,
ever do that
right,
one?
but
Yeah.
but just barely. Better
It
than a
it was
toilet brush, right?
yeah, it wasn't much better. No. All right. But yes, not all settled, but we did make it through. And so here we are. So we're back to
Good.
recording. We didn't miss a beat. That's how good me and this guy are. We
That's
didn't
right.
miss a single episode or a beat on any of this. Um, So last week we talked about could rates actually go up 2 weeks from today? We're recording
Mm.
this on September 4th. September 18th is the day everybody thinks is just going to be Christmas when it comes to interest rates. We're not so sure of that. We think it's already priced in, as do a lot of people. It's not like we came up with that idea. And then it could get better if the economy continues to get worse in the next 2 weeks and the Fed say, we need a 50 bip rate cut, not a
Right.
25 bip rate cut. Okay, then it could get better. But our point is if it's only 25, this is as good as it's going to be for a minute. Now, here's the other question though. Us, along with a lot of experts, have been saying that when rates drop, the housing market is going to just take off. It is going to be back to a bloodbath because there's not enough inventory. And we're going to see multiple offers, multiple bids, multiple showings. It won't be like the COVID era, but it will be much more accelerated than it is right now. Is that true, though, Zach? I mean, we won't know until we get there.
Right.
But what do you think? Because I'm starting to lean a little bit on it might be a tad overplayed. I think that as rates drop, yes, you're going to see more buyers who want to get into the game or get into the houses that they saw that they mentally couldn't afford because of higher rates. But I also think you're going to see sellers jump in and balance the inventory, maybe not fully, but to some degree, because there's still a lot of equity. And what have we been saying for months? Only three ways to get your equity, and one of those is to sell your home. So
Hmm.
if you're staring at a payday of 100,000, 200,000, $400,000 in this economy that allows you to reset, I don't know. I'm not so sure that all of a sudden we have this housing craze where there's 10 offers the first day it goes on the market, like a lot of people have been talking about.
Well, just as you're introducing that topic, Chad, the thoughts that are running through my mind are, yeah, that idea kind of came as interest rates went high and they stayed high for a little while, and we started seeing, they're going to come down. We had the promise, back this time last year, we're anticipating, that there were some big cuts coming in the next year, and
Yeah.
those didn't materialize, obviously. So I think it was probably true back then, that what we were seeing is that if the market really was stifled by one factor, which is affordability, interest rates, that once that changed, we were going to see a big shift, because you think back on this, it's like the faucet turned off. There was all this demand and then zero. I mean, it just
Yeah.
turned off overnight.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a logical conclusion to arrive at back then. But we're in a different spot now as far as the factors that are playing into the real estate market. So, you still got rates, but we're down 1.5 from where we were. That
Yeah.
should have spurred, according to some people, it should have spurred 5 more million people coming into the market and looking for houses.
Man, you
We've
can't start on that math, Zach.
we've dispelled that rumor. I don't want to get that started because
God, I hate
that's
that.
like pushing
Oh,
your play button.
oh my God.
But
That is-
that's already happened. So we've already come down 1.5 in
Yep.
interest rates on a conventional from the highest point that they were a little bit over 8%. So
Yeah.
that really didn't spawn that massive flock to the market. So we're deeper into this recession cycle, and people are subsequently deeper in debt. So the confidence is low, and then we come into the craziest election season that we likely have ever seen in history. Certainly in modern history, we've never seen anything like this.
No.
So there's I think maybe a hesitation or a reticence or just a lack of decisiveness and confidence about making major decisions about, a home purchase. So many things are kind of weighing into this. Maybe there's a malaise in the market. Maybe I have a tendency to agree with you that there won't be the same rush to market. I mean, think about this. You and I see these numbers. Rent prices are going down, and people really don't talk about that very much outside of the finance industry. But
Right.
rent prices are coming down, even though home price appreciation is going up. We've got
I can
some,
tell you firsthand, Airbnb's down.
yeah, Airbnb is down, but even the long term rent, because
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
we've had a flood of inventory. This is literally simply supply and demand, and I keep going back to that. We want to make lots of explanations about things, but supply and demand is really a lot of what operates in our economy. So as the supply grows, and as the builders who started 2 or 3 years ago on these major apartment projects, they've come to fruition. Now they've got empty apartments sitting there and lots of incentives. First year, second year, 3-year lease signups are getting really good incentives right now. So it's not as urgent. Interest rates are up and prices are up 10% over the last 24 months. So maybe there's not that same sense of urgency for that first time home buyer that was looking at a $2,400 a month rent payment and a $2,400 a month mortgage at those low interest rates of 3 years ago. Now it's kind of like, well, I could get $1,800 a month or $2,900 a month. I think I'm just going to keep renting until something happens.
Yeah. When
There's not a cure for it, and I think that's a false hope. But
Yeah.
it's an easy thing to do as a human. Well, we're going to wait until something happens.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because, like I said, I teased it a minute ago. We said, hey, there's 3 ways to get your money if you want to tap into your equity. And one option is obviously to sell. And after you pay commissions and fees, then whatever's left over, you're going to get to keep. Another thing is a cash out refinance. And then the last thing is a home equity line of credit, which kind of goes parallel with a cash out refi, just you're not redoing the first mortgage. And
Right.
people have shied away from that more than maybe you would think, because on a HELOC, rates recently have been 8, 9, 10, 11%. So depending on the size of the HELOC, I mean, you're talking $200,000 HELOC, and that's a lot of money if you're talking
Yeah.
10%. I mean, that's $1,667 a month. That's your monthly payment on just the HELOC. So I think that's where it's going to get interesting for me, is who and how much debt are people in? Because
Right.
if you want to move, Zach, what would be reasons you want to tap into your equity? You want a different home, right? Bigger
Yeah.
house, or downsize, or you've been thinking about moving from Tennessee to Florida, or Florida to Texas, or whatever. You just decide you want to move, so you need the equity to do so, and you don't want to keep the house and rent it and play landlord and move or whatever. So that could put it back into the market. The other reason you need your equity, really all that I can think of, unless you just want to invest it somewhere, would be pay off debt.
Right.
And I think that's the case that most Americans are in right now is the debt piece. So I think a lot of people are going to be weighing the decision of, okay, we can sell, pay off debt, move, and still have money for a down payment after paying off debt
Right.
to get the new house. Or
Right.
or we're at 2.5%, 3% right now. I can cash out, refinance my house. I got to go to 5.5%, whatever, 6%. But when I do that, the interest rates, or I'm sorry, when I do that, my overall monthly budget is going to be significantly better. And we're just going to stay in the same house and we love our house. So while the rates come down, and I do think that will have an impact on increasing inventory because people want to move again, I also think you're going to see a lot of people actually just stay because they don't have a problem with their current house. They're just in a lot of debt.
Right.
And that's been the problem with the inflation and the economy and unemployment and all these things that have kind of compounded over the last 24 months. So I don't have the answer. I'm just more throwing out these possibilities because we don't know which way it's going to go. And anybody acting like they've got it figured out, well, they've been wrong probably for the last 2 years on what rates are going to do.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting just to see how this plays out and what it does to the housing economy, because this is supposedly, Zach, going to be the first of a snowball effect that we start to see if the Feds continue to cut rates like they're anticipating.
Allegedly.
Right.
That's the thing. And I go back to basic human psychology too, Chad, and that, for people to make change, they have to feel confident. If you're changing, if you're changing shampoo, you've got to have some belief that that shampoo is better over there than what you're currently using. And then that escalates, the more important the decision is. Shampoo is a relatively simple thing because you can always switch back. But, changing schools, buying a different house, deciding on a dietary strategy, or,
you know the biggest pain in the moving process? Switching
Mm,
all my credit card billing addresses,
yeah,
switching all my mail, all my deliveries,
utilities, yeah, all of,
Amazon.
yeah,
eh,
yeah,
Amazon's already been here more than my family.
right.
Uh, you
Always.
know, yeah, Instacart has made multiple trips here in 5
Right,
days,
right.
but that's actually the bigger pain in the butt. But I know I just had to throw that in since we're literally going through it at the moment.
But you got to think about that when you undertake the idea of selling a house and moving your family into a different location. There's just a lot of stuff there, and so
Yeah.
if people are scared, I think that the natural instinct is to hunker down and tighten up a little bit. So however that manifests for an individual, we got to think about this too from a psychology standpoint, that we're coming up on this election season. We're getting ready to vote for
Yeah.
a new president, right?
Yeah.
Either an old new president or a really old new president, but it's going to be different. And
Yep.
regardless of what happens, 48 or 52% of America is going to be in panic mode based on that result.
Yeah.
So it's going to take some time, as it does always after an election cycle. Is the world going to end? Oh, it's not going to end. Everything's going to be okay. All right. Well, we're going to be in good shape. Now we can make a move. So
Right.
I just think that there's a lot of things for people to attach some fear to, and again, it goes back to well, let's wait and see what happens. It's such a default mechanism psychologically for human beings.
Yeah. No, it really is. It's crazy, man. Like, what's funny too is you sit back and watch and all these decisions, and it's crazy, like you were saying, psychologically, how everybody is so impulsive and has a herd mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody's waiting till September 18th. I'm going to wait too.
Right.
Everybody's waiting to refinance. I'll wait too. Everybody's
Right.
waiting to buy a house. I'll wait too. Is it Warren Buffett, right? It would always talk about No, when everybody's buying, you're selling. And when
Hmm.
everybody's selling, you're buying. And we've talked about that, I know, once before, because I use it in sports analogies with gambling, is if Las Vegas sets up a game or a sports game or a line and everybody's on one side. Go back to, I know we got a lot of college football fans here. LSU played Southern California Sunday night.
Hmm.
88% of the public bet on LSU to win that game. Vegas
88. Wow.
Vegas kept lowering the line, as they call it. They kept lowering it, enticing people to bet LSU. LSU lost the game outright. They were a favorite
Hmm.
and they lost the game. Nobody could believe it. Again, 88% went this way. Whenever that happens, whether it's sports betting or just decisions or life, a lot of times, and it doesn't mean the public is always wrong, but a lot of times, if you go the opposite way, it pays off. Same for investing. Again, like Warren Buffett would say, hey, you buy when they sell, you sell when they buy.
Right.
And that's the way if you go against the grain. So some of that psychology is going to be interesting to actually watch play out.
Well, I'm going to go a step further with it too and say that we're probably worse than we've ever been with regard to our impulsivity in one direction or another, because our attention spans are, and we've been kind of trained and acculturated into emotional responses, right, by
Yeah.
technology. I
FOMO.
really believe that that's a
FOMO.
dynamic. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
FOMO thing is just insane. You know, there are people who will literally, and it's crazy. There are people who, if you show them the mortgage payment on 6.0% versus 5.99%, the difference is less than $1 in some
Right.
cases.
17 cents or something, right?
But if you show them the cost, this is where mortgage companies can actually get you. The cost to go from 6.0 to 5.99 could be like $300. And
Right.
you go, well, yeah, Chad, this is $300 though, and I get the 5 and yada yada yada.
It's a
Correct.
5, right?
But
Yeah.
the 300 divided by 17 cents is 20 years or whatever it comes out to
Right.
be. But people just, they can't help it. They have that FOMO. They want to be in the 5 club. They want to see 5 on the front or
Right.
on the first page of that mortgage bill. And again, the psychology piece, right? We let things kind of dictate our decisions, which shouldn't be the case, but we do.
Right. Right. Do the math and be thoughtful about it. I'll finish my input on this topic with a quick story, but I tell people this story. I use it because I think it's very telling about how we react to things. So my wife used to be in high-end women's retail clothing sales, and
Did not know
she was a salesperson. And so they had a store that was on a very high traffic, it's kind of a highway, but it was really a kind of a in-town highway, high traffic, and in a very affluent part of town. And they always, all of the girls that worked in the store always parked their cars not behind the building where the employee parking was, but they parked it right in front of the front door, so that every time that potential customer drove down the road, they'd look over and see all those cars around the front door and say, "Gosh, I wonder if so and so's having a sale. I better make plans. I'm going to dash in there, or at least I'm going to make plans to get in there today." And I thought it was brilliant, because if they were, having a regular kind of old day with no traffic, and there's no cars around the front door, people just keep on going by. But that was a very strategic play on their part to park all their cars right around the best parking spots at the front door in order to drive that FOMO.
Yeah, right. That's it. I mean, that's the whole point of influencers on social media, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
my favorite actor or my favorite sports athlete. I coach baseball. I coach a couple of different teams. My oldest one, Nash, is 8 and plays on this team. And all the kids are always talking about the brands. Like
Mhm.
they don't talk about Gatorade anymore. They talk about Prime.
Right.
And then they
Right.
talk about like sliding mitts for baseball. Yeah, our kids wear sliding mitts. You know how many of them slide head first, Zach?
But
I'm
they'll
like,
be ready if they
dude,
ever decide they're going to do that.
the bats, you got to have a certain brand
Yeah.
bat. You got to, well, this is the one Bryce Harper uses. Oh, this is the
Yeah.
one that Shohei Ohtani uses. This is Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, like on and on and on. And it's funny because that's it. We have FOMO based on the people we like and the influencers, and that goes to elections too. Why do you think elections have celebrities on stage? Why do you think people of influence make speeches supporting one candidate or the other?
Well,
Like
they're
the
paying
fact
they're
that
paying these social media influencers
yeah,
tens of thousands of dollars to make posts
if
and do promos in favor of one candidate or another
we
because it works. It's very manipulative and it's very effective.
we can end on this because this kind of sums it up. It's perfect. The fact that an American would allow somebody who is at least a 7 or 8 figure net worth person and has probably never met them, doesn't know them personally, probably doesn't even know their personal values because you don't know them beyond a certain screen or field, that person influences who you vote for, that directly can impact you as a person and the policies in place, blows my mind.
Right. More
Because
so they have more influence than a family member or a parent or
right,
a church
yeah,
group or whatever it is.
right.
The people who really live with you have less influence than somebody who, has never even been to the town that you live in. It's crazy.
So think for yourself, make decisions based on you as an individual, make the smart decisions, analyze the situation. Don't just jump right in, because you saw it or read it or somebody you think is cool did it. Pass on all that. Just do a little critical thinking. It'll go a really, really long way, especially as we get into this environment with mortgage rates and cuts, and if things start accelerating a little bit in the housing market. It's the largest asset you'll ever own, most likely. So, mental decisions get tougher and tougher because of
Right.
pressure and social pressure, economic pressure, all those things. But all right, that'll do it for us right here. Follow along on these socials: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Download, subscribe, hit the bell, like, comment, DM, shoot us something, whatever you got. That guy right over there, Zach Jones Loans, right here, Mortgage Dad Chad. I think that's 40. We did 40 today, right?
40? Wow.
40. I think
That's like
today's
an
40.
anniversary. That's an
Yeah,
anniversary of some sort, right?
I think today's 40. There's I don't know how you get the thumbs up bubbles, but there it is. All
There you
right.
go.
He's Zach. I'm Chad. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll catch you next week. Take care.
See ya.